Lesson 45. God is the mind with which I think. Today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. They are nothing that you think, just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. There is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what vision will show you. You think with the mind of God. Therefore you share your thoughts with Him as He shares His with you. They are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. To share is to make alike, or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. Therefore your thoughts are in the mind of God, as you are. They are in your mind as well, where He is. As you are part of His mind, so are your thoughts part of His mind. Where then are your real thoughts? Today we will attempt to reach them. We will have to look for them in your mind, because that is where they are. They must still be there, because they cannot have left their source. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being part of creation. Our 3 5-minute practice periods for today will take the same general form that we used in applying yesterday's idea. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We will not let the thoughts of the world hold us back. We will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what God would have us do is impossible. Instead, we will try to recognize that only what God would have us do is possible. We will also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do, and we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what He would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. It is the will of God. Begin the exercises for today by repeating the idea to yourself, closing your eyes as you do so. Then spend a fairly short period in thinking a few relevant thoughts of your own, keeping the idea in mind. After you have added some 4 or 5 thoughts of your own to the idea, repeat it again and tell yourself gently, "My real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them." Then try to go past all the unreal thoughts that cover the truth in your mind, and reach to the eternal. Under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning. They are there in your mind now, completely unchanged. They will always be in your mind, exactly as they always were. Everything you have thought since then will change, but the foundation on which it rests is wholly changeless. It is this foundation toward which the exercises for today are directed. Here is your mind joined with the mind of God. Here are your thoughts one with His. For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary. Approach it as you would an altar dedicated in heaven to God the Father and to God the Son. For such is the place you are trying to reach. You will probably be unable as yet to realize how high you are trying to go. Yet even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven. In the shorter exercise periods for today, try to remember how important it is to you to understand the holiness of the mind that thinks with God. Take a minute or two as you repeat the idea throughout the day to appreciate your mind's holiness. Stand aside, however briefly, from all thoughts that are unworthy of Him whose host you are, and thank Him for the thoughts He is thinking with you. Lesson 45. God is the mind in which I think. So imagine we're sitting here at this coffee shop just chatting. No preaching, no lecturing, just exploring something profound together. You ever had one of those moments where a thought hits you so hard that it feels like your entire perspective just shifted? That's kind of what happens with A Course in Miracles, and Lesson 45 is one of those moments. God is the mind in which I think. Let's just sit with that for a second. Not God is the mind I think about, not God is a thought in my mind. No, God is the mind in which I think. That means my thinking, my real thinking, is happening inside the mind of God. So what does that say about all the other thoughts swirling around in my head? Well, the Course doesn't hold back. Nothing that you think is related to your real thoughts. Wait, what? Did it just say that everything I think I'm thinking isn't actually thinking at all? Real thoughts versus unreal thoughts. This lesson is drawing a line. It's saying that most of what goes through our heads, the fears, the doubts, the judgments, The endless loops of what-ifs aren't our real thoughts. They're just static noise illusions, like a dream you wake up from and realize wasn't real. Your real thoughts, those are the ones you share with God. Because if God is the mind in which you think, then his thoughts are your thoughts, and your real thoughts are still with him, untouched, unaltered, eternal. That's a game changer. The pizza metaphor. Sharing makes one. Okay, think about this. Have you ever shared a pizza with a friend? You take a slice, they take a slice, and you both enjoy the same thing. But the pizza doesn't stop being pizza just because you shared it. Now apply that to thoughts. When you think with the mind of God, you're not creating separate thoughts that go off on their own. You're sharing in something that already exists, something whole. The Course puts it this way: thoughts do not leave their source. That means your real thoughts, your thoughts with God, never actually left you. They're still there, even if you can't always hear them over the noise of the world. Where are my real thoughts? If my real thoughts never left me, then why don't I feel them all the time? Because they're buried. Covered up by unreal thoughts, distractions, worries. The world throws so much at us: social media, opinions, stress, fear, until it feels like our minds are cluttered storage units full of stuff we don't even need. And today's practice, it's about clearing some space. Deny the world in favor of truth. This part hits hard. The Course says we will deny the world in favor of truth. That doesn't mean rejecting reality or pretending things don't exist. It means recognizing that the world we've accepted as real, the world of fear, limitation, and separation, isn't actually reality at all. It's just a projection of false beliefs. Think about the things the world tells us are impossible. You'll never be good enough. Love is conditional. You're separate from God. All lies. All thoughts that do not come from the mind of God. And yet, how often do we believe them? The Course is saying, only what God would have us do is possible, and only what God would have us do is what we really want to do. That last part is big, because we think we want all sorts of things. We think we want success, approval, security, but deep down, we just want what God wants for us. We just want truth. The practice: finding what's real. Today's exercise is simple but powerful. First, repeat the idea. God is the mind in which I think. Then spend a few minutes adding your own thoughts to it. Maybe something like, if God is the mind in which I think, then my real thoughts must be full of love. If God is the mind in which I think, then fear is not real. If God is the mind in which I think, then I must be safe. And then just listen. Try to go beyond the noise, beyond the worries, beyond the beliefs that the world has told you are true. Because somewhere in there, under all the static, are the thoughts you have always had with God. And they are still there, unchanged, unshaken, eternal. That's today's practice. We're not trying to force anything, just making space for what's already real. And if you're listening to this on your way to work, just take a deep breath and know your real thoughts, the ones you share with God, never left you. They are with you now, just waiting to be remembered. So let's remember them today.